Phil, excited to have you here. Let's do. You brought 4 static ads for us. I've not seen these ads, so this is first time seeing everything. Let's do it. What's the first ad? What do we got?
Cool. So I've got 4 static cards. They're all very different products.
Love it.
Share screen, window. Now, and I thought I'd start off with like the funnest one as well, a bit of an icebreaker. So this product is essentially a gummy worm for male sperm health.
Love it.
The sort of This is a bit of a background. The sort of scientific, or the reason why they've built this product is because of this sort of stat around the decline of sperm count over the last like 50 years, I think. And it's obviously all like getting a bit deep. It's all to do with like the world that we live in, the foods we eat, the
Sure.
sort of chemicals that we're exposed to. You know, testosterone is obviously related to this, and that's obviously another product that's quite popular for the same sort of reasons. And this is one of the first ads that we've been working with these guys for a couple of rounds now, and this is one of the first ads. And straight, like, it's the reason why I wanted this ad to be made is because it's not that deep, but essentially it comes and it looks like it's in a condom wrapper.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I love it.
And I wanted to play on the sort of the idea that you're going to produce so much produce that you'll need
This
protection.
episode's gonna get flagged.
Yeah. I'm trying to walk a path. You're going to produce so much that you're going to need protection. And obviously, when you think about protection and sex, you think about condoms. It comes in a condom wrapper.
I love it.
And then now we've got this copy that's like a load so big you'll need protection.
So also, what do you think about how it gets you intrigued maybe to click, but then you still got to do the research. So how do you balance the fact that you're trying to get people's attention? Obviously the copy here is really great, but you're still kind of like, wait, but what's the product? How does this actually work? So how do you kind of balance that with maybe some other statics that might feel like I got to have all the benefits and the features and how this all works?
Yeah, so I think the reason why this ad works, and we've seen a bit of a trend in this ad account that we've actually discussed this week, which is you could think that actually you need to try and speak to people, men or women, you could try and speak to people who care about their sperm health because they're going to be starting a family. Whereas actually that's not the audience that we're speaking to. And actually the product and the vibe of the product is speaking to a much more casual customer who is interested in taking supplements from like a male performance point of view. And actually it's a lot less complicated.
Interesting.
Yeah. And we've seen a very big trend that actually a lot of the creative it's a relatively new ad account over the last few months. This ad account is like the highest spending ad when you look over the lifetime of the account. I think it's received like 25% of spend, and they've launched like a ton of ads, like 200 ads in a couple of months. Now other ads are starting to float to the top, and they're all very similar or very simple and similar, talking about, sort of amount of produce as a topic and less about, are you concerned about your vitality and your ability to start a family?
Did they come to you guys thinking like, we think that is the angle, or is that just like, that would be the initial hypothesis? How do you guys was it just through testing that you guys like figured out like that it would be more of this casual versus it being like, do you want to have kids, or like, do you want to start a family? Then, have this whatever gummy.
Yeah, so we've took the tactic in the last few months where when we're deciding the number of concepts that we're going to do in the month, we take those concepts and we split them in two, and then there's 2 angles. So if we're going to do 8 concepts in a month, 4 is this one and 4 is this one. And for this example, it was 4 that was focused on male performance, bravado, like alpha, that sort of vibe. And then the other one was on, like sort of the inability to do something and coming at it from a bit more of a pain point angle. And it's all this angle that's doing the most work. And when we started working with the client, or when we first started to talk to them about working together, their introduction was this piece.
Mm.
And I imagine it's not necessarily something that we've spoken about so clinically, but I imagine they're going through a similar discovery phase, which is, okay, maybe it's not that deep, and maybe, yeah. Because there are other products that have launched in the last 6 months, which are similar, a bit more of a supplement, a bit more of a science product, but very much focused on the sort of, like, it isn't what it used to be like 50 years ago, and we need to do something about it.
Yeah.
So, vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I like it. All right, we're starting off with a bang here. Let's go let's go to number 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny topic. Before I jump on, we've seemed to have picked up this trend of starting to get more and more clients who are in sexual health, bedroom performance. And every time I bring one of these clients to the team, I'm like, yeah, you're going to have to start writing about this stuff again.
Hey, you guys are you maybe you're niching down. I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there, Phil, but
Yeah, like 2024, it was the year of the GLP-1. 2026, it's the year of the
the sperm worms.
sperm bank. So we've got a running trainer, and this is a bit of an iteration in it from a couple of different ways. This ad account loves product on white
Okay.
in a super simple way, and they've got tons of lifestyle content, tons of really nicely shot running content. You can imagine, I've got like a couple of foreplay boards. Maybe we like link that in the call notes or whatever. Like, I'm really proud of the foreplay boards that we've got for the running angle, because I'm like, these ads look amazing. And then all this ad account is like product on white. So I do think that's a separate topic that I do think we need to try and solve that for them in the right way. So that's why this ad looks like that,
Yep.
product on white. And then the angle is really based on something that has come from their retail partners, which is when this product is sold to runners in a running shop. The big thing that works, and the big thing that the customers talk about with the sort of sales assistant is, and I'm not a runner, but I'm trying to communicate this properly, is the fact that the sensation or the sole is soft,
Hmm.
but it's also springy. And from my understanding, not being a runner, those two things are often not paired together. You
Yep.
can have soft running shoes that sort of are like a pillow, so you just like sink into them and then you don't get much bounce back, or you have very hard, or is it like the carbon fiber type stuff
Yep.
where it pushes you forward. And actually what we've done here is like, yes, and we've got some other creatives which sort of speak to this a little bit more, where it's like, it is soft, it is springy at the same time, and that's what makes you fast. And this is
Love
like
it.
it. This is that idea in its simplest form.
What I like about this is the simplicity, right? So this is even getting me thinking about some of our brands too, but the fact that we always try to fit a ton of text in. I know that I tend to try to fit in a lot of text. This is like 3 words, right? A simple equation, right? 3 words, 2 characters, and it almost just it speaks so well to the product. It brings it all together without saying too much. And almost like the lack of words like it just that gives it space for it to really resonate. I'm curious, like, you talked about how the photos are very simple in the account, so not even just this ad, but just in the account in general. Do you find that even the simple text, like, have you guys tried other ads where there's a lot more text, and do you find that that doesn't maybe work as well? Or I'm curious because it's a simple photo, but also the simplicity of the headline is there, right? There's so it's very minimal. So I'm curious if that's just what has been working across the account outside of just this ad.
Yeah, so the other ad that's sort of one of the highest spending is a top down, the shoes on the ground, and it is on the ground. It's not like a on white, like it is like a road sort of thing. One of them's this way, one of them's that way, so you get both sides. And the text is, and we were trying to go for style more, sort of like people like potentially wearing this as a trainer or a sneaker, as well as a running piece of running equipment. And the copy was from PBs to post run coffee.
Ooh.
So like from personal best to post run coffee. And and that got a ton of spend. Yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of brought in like lifestyle of the runner, like what happens around the runner and how like the shoes are going to be a part of each of those, different things. I really like that. I really like that. All right, let's jump into the third one. What do we got? Third
Cool.
ad. We're on a
I can't
roll.
remember what the third one is. So, okay. So here, now these guys sell mid-century modern mailboxes.
Love it.
So when we've worked with these guys for like 6 or 7 months, and this is quite a recent ad, and we've done everything from sort of like price anchoring, not problem solution, because you don't really have a problem with your mailbox, I suppose. But I think we've tried to overcomplicate the message a hell of a lot. And I was trying to think, okay, so how do we get this across in a really nice way? Because it is a bit of a Pinterest brand.
Hmm.
You know, if you're in market, if you've got a mid-century house, you're in a certain vibe. If you're buying mid-century items, but you don't have a mid-century house, then you're in that vibe. And what clicked in my head when I wrote this brief was, rather than trying to describe the mailbox, what if we described mid-century design
Mm.
and put that on top of, and paired that with an image of the mailbox, and then the customer also almost did that connection themselves. And all I did to get this copy was, or to start off on this research was, ChatGPT or Claude, and I just put in like, write 20 sentences describing what mid-century design is. We got them, we shortened them down. Form meets function. It's clean lines, minimalist design, geometric shapes. There's one about colors, and we've got this full library of assets now. And the spend went straight to them as soon as they went in the account.
So, what about the choice of like the colors? Like you've got this, deep blue green paneling, like the siding, and then you've got this like red that just really pops. So, curious if you thought a little bit about like the colors of the mailbox and the house, and if you picked those intentionally as well.
Not intentionally, because they've got a ton of assets all the same. So they've got like a bright yellow house with a black mailbox, and they've got like a black house with a yellow mailbox, and they've got tons of these assets already that you
Hmm.
could, you could like spin your finger around and put your finger down, and you'll land on an image that looks like this.
Yeah.
And then we just paired it with the copy. But fortunately, they've already done their homework. Yeah, I think we could make a ton more variations, changing the copy, and just try and keep it simple. Yeah.
Did you run like other kind of similar headlines that were like describing mid-century, but this one won out beyond those, or did those also work as well?
Yeah, so there's quite. So if I can actually bring up some of the others. So you can see here we've got like where form meets function, and that's obviously a bit more of a lifestyle shot. I think the one that actually received a ton of spend, which isn't my favorite, just because the way, like, from a design point, I think there's almost like a bit of like friction between, the positioning of the mailbox and the sort of the spacing. But I think this one was one of the highest spenders. So bold shapes, clean lines, modern designs.
Also, it's interesting that it's like just three. Like it's patterns of like you have like three different kind of descriptions of mid-century. I don't know if there was like if you've played with four or two or just one or like if that is like something as well.
Yeah, we've got two there. So that's like clean lines, bold colors. That wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can see some of the other ads that we've done over the years. Like, I think this is like a bit like this one's like a bit of an animation. But yeah, we've tried sort of more complicated ones where form meets function. We tried that one.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is great. And then, you mentioned last time on or the last ad with the shoes, you said, we've really had this minimal look, but we're trying to get some of these other kind of like, you know, designs or things like that, like to potentially work later on in the account. I'm curious if there's kind of anything on this account that you're like, man, I think this could work. We haven't really tried it yet. I'm just curious what you're thinking for like potential other things, or do you think it is like this is the way and we're just gonna stick with this only?
Yeah, what I'd love to see in this account, and we've brought it up with the client since day one, really, and they're trying to work on it. But obviously, as it being a sort of like a home installation product, it's quite difficult to facilitate. But it's what every other brand is doing. The behind the scenes content, it's made in America. We do all that cool stuff. We do the unboxing outside the house. We do like putting the post in. It's breaking down those barriers that ecom has. And these assets definitely do. There's like a whole barrier. It's like, okay, well, what's it feel like? What's the texture? What's the quality? What's the weight? And doing all those things that lots of other niches in ecom do so easily. That's what I'd love to really see in this account, because I think if I was a competitor of this brand, that would really give me the willies. If I saw a competitor going full tilt accessible content.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's go to the fourth one. Fourth and last, static.
Cool. So this is a bit of it's like a pouch, isn't it? Like Zin. And our client is Ultra on the left. And this is like a direct sort of comparison
Mhm.
anchoring ad. So you might think it's like us versus them, but I think us versus them is maybe a bit like a simplification of the idea. And what we're essentially trying to say is this product that you're used to taking, or this product that you understand, you know
Yep.
what this is because it's been out for 10 years or whatever. And we're trying to, and we're making a very simple connection to that. And this is where we are over here. And I think that's almost like the development of the us versus them idea, which is how can we pair it with something that is potentially negative or bad? And how can we easily agitate that and then provide ours as a solution? And we produced a ton of ads for this brand. I think we did like 20 concepts in 1 month. So, like hundreds of assets, but this was the ad that received a ton of spend. I think the color definitely pops in the feed. And then also it's very straightforward for for the correct audience to understand.
Yeah, the contrast is huge, but I think you're right. You're taking something that is known to people, and even if the current brand Ultra is not known to them, there's a really good reference that can help them understand quickly what the product is. Um, I'm curious if on the headline it says mental clarity without the come down, like why pick that? Is that like, did you guys find that as one of the biggest kind of proponents against Zyn versus Ultra? Like, how did you pick that headline specifically?
Yeah, so it really comes down from the idea. So Ultra is very, I didn't really use this type of product, but from my understanding, Ultra is very different to Zyn because Ultra is a lot more herbal,
Mhm.
and I don't think it contains any nicotine. So it's a lot more of a like a vanilla product versus the group of products that you could be like, nicotine and cigarettes and vapes and energy drinks and all of these things which give you an instant response, but also come with, a bunch of negatives and then a certain drop at a certain point. And yeah, that's, we're trying to speak to an audience who is like the sort of health optimizer, entrepreneur, coding at night, these sort of things, that these sort of people that are looking for the edge. And then we're trying to tap into that. Okay, so maybe they're taking Zyn and they're popping these Zyns all day and they're going through packets, but they're sick of this come down. It's like, okay, so this is the product that does what you want without the.
And then is there like between the 4 that you have, like the 4 different call outs, did you try to like have like pro and con like direct, or did you find that these are like the 4 that are like strongest for Ultra and the 4 biggest like complaints from like Zen?
Yeah, so there is they are connected. So they're sort of equal, like good and bad of each other. So sort of blood flow versus like this doesn't cause any strain. Max workout, so if you're in the gym, whereas this can actually put stress on your sort of cardiovascular because of the impact on your blood. Obviously zero gum damage versus can cause gum recession. And then clean ingredients, addictive hook, potentially we could have been harsher on there and said like zero addiction, for
Yeah.
example. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're thinking about something from a vertical standpoint, do you guys keep it like pretty much the same, or do you change the layout for vertical of like something like this? Because it's like such a nice square, right? So do you just extend it for vertical, or do you redesign it for your vertical?
I'm trying to see if I can pop up they've changed it now, haven't they? Oh no, it's not in there. So yeah, what we would do, we would essentially extend it out and we'd make sure that we'd fill out the 4x5 frame as much as possible. And ideally there would be a certain element that would fill into the space beyond the 4x5 frame. So you just don't get these sort of like 20% top of bottom, which is like blank color.
Yeah.
So when that, because like obviously if it serves to reels, that's okay because there's a hell of a lot more UI on reels. Whereas if it serves to stories, there's like you just get this blank space. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of the ads they didn't really look like this. And maybe that's why a lot this one got so much of the spend. A lot of the other ads we sort of went down this like sort of like futuristic vibe.
Interesting.
Yeah, and some of the content looked even more like that. So we've got this sort of like spaceship like sort of thing. So and I really like these sort of things, but yeah, it didn't get spent.
Well, I think also too, like it like for that, it takes a bit longer to get to what it is, right? It's a little bit harder to understand what the product is. Where in that other, just from a headline perspective, you can just see it. It's just so clear, right? Like this is what it is going up against. And like just because there is that reference that they already know, it just helps them understand it so much faster. So from an attention standpoint, it literally takes like almost no time at all to really understand what the product is. And like they can self-select in or out that much faster. So I think there's so much more clarity of what it goes against. So you almost don't have to do as much education to explain it, right? It does its own explaining.
Yeah, and if trying to connect this ad to the first one, the sperm worms one, it's just it's there's so many other things that we could have said, and you've said, and I do this as well. You write so much copy. How do we simplify it down? And we could simplify this even. We could make this even more simple with fewer words on it. But yeah, I think there's a hell of a lot of similarity between this ad and the one over here, where we're almost ignoring 90% of the other things we could have said.
Yeah. Also, I think just like if you go back to the last ad, it's like you could have said all the same stuff without the comparison. And I don't know if that would have done as well because you don't have that reference, right? So with that comparison, so sometimes it's not always about the copy, it could be the layout. Like layout can help people understand things. So like the visual composition of this ad allows people to really understand what product is and helps them understand if that's what they want to buy. So I think that that's as much of a creative decision as should we have more copy or less copy. And I think that that can sometimes get thrown away in the decision. Like most people are just so focused on the headline that they're not thinking about layout. And so I think that the layout really lends itself to the headline, and then that ties it all in together pretty strong. All right. Well, Phil, we're at the end. 4 ads down and done. I appreciate it. Give us a little bit of where we can follow you, where we can find you, do the plugs while we finish out the episode.
Yeah, I am on OnlyFans. No, I'm on Twitter, Phil Kiel, and then LinkedIn. If you want more like shit posting, that's on Twitter. If you want more, I guess, grown up agency stuff, that's on LinkedIn.
I like it. All right. Well, Phil, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Matthew.